If quarantine has got you down, tune in for another round of Missy Music Class.
Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to another week with Music with Miss C. Now, as you can tell, guess what instrument we're going to be talking about today? You guessed it, the piano. This amazing instrument here hugely contributed to both classical music, modern music. It's probably worldwide, one of the most common instruments that people learn to play, and we're super excited to be talking about the piano today. Some of you may even have a piano in your house, and it may not look like this because pianos come in many different shapes and sizes. I know a lot of you are taking piano lessons, and it is a great first instrument to start to play because you can learn note names and you can learn to read music well, and a lot of people recommend that the piano be the first instrument that you start out with. So let's take a look today a little bit at how the piano actually works. Come join me on the other side. Now, the piano was actually invented in the 1700s in Italy. So it is an Italian instrument, and the piano first was called pianoforte because of the fact that it could play both loud and soft. And so people called it a pianoforte. The harpsichord, which came before the piano, only could play soft. And so once the piano came along, that's why they thought about calling it the pianoforte. Now, inside of the piano are hammers, just like this, you think? No, let's take a look at what it really looks like. The girls are going to have to help me open up the lid. This is called a grand piano, so it's really big. So we're going to go ahead and open up this lid that goes to the piano. Let me put my hammer down here so that you can take a look. All right, girls, let's lift. Okay, if you notice, it's got a stand that you can use. Make sure I get it in there right. It's super heavy, so if it were to fall, it would really smush your fingers. There's two different settings that you can actually place the lid on. If you were doing a piano concert that was showcasing just the piano, you would definitely want to use the lid opened up wide because that lets more sound come out. All right, so if you wanted to go shorter, you see right here, there's a shorter, like a bicycle kickstand that you can use just to open up the lid a little bit. All right, so let's take a look. Mr. C is going to show you down inside of the piano. All right, Ashley Grace is going to come over here and play some keys for us while we're talking about the different strings. Now, there are over 12,000 parts to a piano, 10,000 of which are moving parts inside the piano. It is an enormous number of small pieces that need to work perfectly together to make the sound that you want to have in the piano. There are 230 strings needed for a piano to make a full range of sound. Now, these strings, as you can see, can you see down in there, Brian? Okay. These strings are made out of steel, and they produce their sound when they are struck by the tiny hammers. Now, look closely here. Ashley Grace, why don't you play about here in this section here? I think they can see that. Just lift softly, play one note. Play some black notes. All right. Can you see those hammers down in there? You see them? Okay. All right, so play several at a time, and you can even go down to the middle. All right, so the hammers are underneath here, and they are striking the string. The string is vibrating, and that's what's making the sound. All right, so why don't you play some of the strings down there? Oh, look down there. Now, if you look closely, you can see these strings connect up here and they go all the way down, and these strings are much thicker than the strings at the other end. So, of course, they make the low sound. So give us some low sounds down there, Ashley Grace. Now, each string usually holds about 170 pounds of tension, and so it's tightened. And that's the reason why you have to have a piano tuner who can especially come in and tune the piano. You have to be trained in that to be able to tune it and make sure it sounds just right. All right, so let's work our way up. And you can see it goes from low and then it gets higher and higher. And these strings here are much shorter because they make the high sound. This particular piano is a Steinway piano, which came from New York. And Steinway, that's who makes these pianos. They're probably the most famous pianos are Steinway pianos. They have the best sound. But they come in all shapes and sizes. Some of you may have an upright piano that sits up tall, that's in your house. That's like the kind I have at my house that you've seen before. This is a grand piano, so of course the strings lay out flat this way instead of up and down like an upright piano would. All right, Ashley Grace, can you play us a song, whatever you would like to play on the piano for us? There. Okay, so the family that the piano belongs to is a little tricky. The piano actually belongs to two different families. Now, of course, you know it would belong to the string family because we're actually looking, it has strings inside. Does anybody know what the second family is that the piano would belong to? Think about it. That's right, percussion. The percussion family. The percussion family because the hammers that are inside here are striking the strings. And remember when we talked about a few weeks ago the percussion family, it was something that you scrape, shake, or strike. So that's why the piano could also belong to the percussion family as well. Now the piano is used for all different styles of music. There are many songs that use the piano. It is used for choirs when they sing. There are even songs that are written that play the piano like this. You got your... So when I strum it like that, it sounds like a what? A harp. It does. Now, I'm going to click some links below that you can see the piano guys, and they play some songs using the inside of the piano like that. Remember back at Christmas, we listened to, I believe it was, Angels We Have Heard on High, maybe, or Hark the Herald Angel, where they played inside and they used paper to make a drum sound, and then they played the strings. And so I'm going to click some links below to the piano guys and some other people that have played great pieces on the piano for you to take a look at as well. All right, so let's take a look at the other side of the piano. I want to show you something else. All right, when we take a look at this side of the piano, you can see in here the tuning pegs that are connected to the other end of the string. So when a piano tuner is here to tune those, he has a little mechanism that he uses that fits on top of this peg, and you'll hear them playing the same note over and over and over and tuning it as they tune to make sure that each and every string is exactly where it needs to be. And that depends on how tight it is, and that's how they use these little tuning pegs that are here. Okay, now if you take a look down at the bottom on the floor, there are 3 pedals that are hooked to this piano. Now the foot operated pedals, somehow each of these pedals change the instrument sound in a different ways. Modern pianos have 3 petals at the bottom. This one is called the una corda. Then you have the sostenuto pedal and the sustaining pedal or the damper pedal. So listen to this one. When you have this one pressed, it makes a softer sound. Here's the difference. I do not have it pressed. Makes it softer. The dampening pedal can play without my hands on it because it sustains the sound. You hear that? If I don't have it pressed, the sound stops when I lift my hands. Okay? Then I take my foot off and it stops the sound because it stops the vibrations. Remember, it's all about the vibrations. Let's see. Used to, these, of course, these are called the keys of the piano, and they used to be made out of ivory. That's why a lot of people, you've heard maybe say to tickle the ivory keys that were on there. Now they're made of a much harder plastic, which is more sustainable, easier to take care of. But that's what they used to be made out of, was ivory. All right, so piano belongs to the string family and the percussion family. It's quite a wonderful instrument. You can do lots of different things with it. This piano has 88 keys. Some of you may have a smaller piano that you might have at home that might have a smaller octaves on it. There are upright pianos and grand pianos. Many of you or your grandparents or your parents may play piano. You may be learning how to play piano. It is a wonderful instrument, like I said, to be able to play. There are also, like the one we have at school, is an electronic piano, electronic keyboard, and some of you may have those. Just like last week when we looked at the organ, and remember that box that was over on the side of the organ, which was the MIDI box that had digital sounds? So an electronic keyboard does not have strings in it. It digitally has recorded the sounds of different things. So that when you play it, you know how at school when we make it sound like the trumpet or the clarinet, or we have a drum sound on it, all those are in the computer, and that's what makes an electronic keyboard sound. Electronic keyboards are much easier to carry around, to practice with, and so that's when those were invented. It made it easier for bands to use a keyboard to set up than to lug this big thing around, right? All right, well, I hope you've had a great week, that you're staying well, staying safe, and Abby Rose is going to join me for a very popular song that I know many of you know because I've heard you play it before. All right, have a great week. Until next week when I see you again, stay safe. I love you and miss you, and practice your piano.